genre is this we're studying. Second, the contemporary meaning of terms. What did these words mean to the author? And the way you find that out, these are Hebrew, the writers of the New Testament, Hebrew thinkers writing street Greek. Hebrew thinkers writing street Greek. So you don't go to a Greek lexicon. You go to the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, and see how they use these words. That's where the theology is coming from. The Septuagint was the Bible of the early church. Historical and cultural settings. We've got to know something of the day. We've got to. I'll give you an example. This parable of the Pharisee and the sinner. You and I automatically know the Pharisee is a bad guy when we read the parable. But I want you to know, in that day, the Pharisee was Billy Graham. The Pharisees were thought of as the most conservative, most godly people around. And we come with the bias that they're bad and miss the whole point of the parable because of our cultural conditioning that's exactly opposite of the original hearers, who would have seen this as a wonderful godly person. And Jesus takes that wonderful godly person to task with a simple sinner's prayer. Got to be careful. We read the whole literary unit before we try to interpret the part. That's logic. If I wrote you a 10-page letter, you wouldn't read to page 2 and quit. You wouldn't call me mad because of something I said on page 3 and never even read 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 pages. Well, then why in the world will we let somebody take the first chapter of a book and tell us something that the whole book is never talking about? Number 4, the difficulties in interpreting an ancient text multiply because, number 1, knowledge of any given language from the past is limited. I always get tickled. People say, oh, I have 3 years of Greek. So what? You don't speak Greek at all, ancient Greek. Nobody speaks ancient Greek. If you had 3 years of any modern language, you wouldn't even be on a 6th grade level in that language. Don't you tell me you're some kind of expert in Greek because you've had 3 or 4 years of it. And I always get tickled when somebody from some seminary says you mispronounce a Greek word. Like you know, fool. We don't even use the inflections of the original language, and we've put a phonetic alphabet on a Greek alphabet, and Greek people can't speak Koine Greek and understand it. I'm over it, shoot. We never know if we have the author's intent. It's always an assumption. We're never sure of the exact purposes of these genres. I've said to you that the genre that the author chooses to communicate his message is a contract with the reader on how to interpret it. But we're not always sure we understand exactly what that genre is implying. There are idioms. Now, these idioms, if you take an idiom as literal, you're an idiot. You know, pluck out your eye and cut off your hand. People say, I just take the Bible literally. You do not. Not one of you are eyeless. You're 6 sins away from being a blind paraplegic. You don't take it literally at all. Don't you tell me you take it literally. We pick and choose what we take literally based on our traditions. Now, what I'm saying to you is, let's be consistent to the type of literature that the author chooses to write in. It requires that one must attempt to ascertain the original author's intent. The following are basic content questions we should ask every passage, and I would say at least a paragraph. Now, these are my questions. These are not inspired. These are not unique. I'm asking you to try this a couple of times on a small New Testament book. After you try it, write your own questions. I'm trying to capture the method of the ancient school from Antioch of Syria. Here are the questions. You can follow. And the rest of this notebook is going to be something of an explication of these questions. Number 1, what did the original author say? Textual criticism. I'm going to talk about that some tonight if I have time. We'll get into it next time when I deal with your next set of outlines called the Bible. So, for sure. The second one is, what did the original author mean? Now, this is where grammar and word studies come in. Exegesis. The third one is, what did the original author say elsewhere? This is parallel passage. The best parallel passage is the same author in the same book, then the same author in other books. So it moves in concentric circles of significance to the whole Bible. This is parallel passages. What did other biblical authors say? How did the original hearers understand it? Sometimes we have a clue. Most of the time it's in the Gospels or in Acts that we know who the target group is and how they responded to the message. We understand what was being communicated by the way the audience responds to it. And sometimes they respond exactly opposite of what the author intended. How does this apply to my day, and how does it apply to my life? Bible study is knowing what it meant then and then applying that truth to my life with the same power and intensity. Every text has one and only one meaning, the intent of the original author. Every text has many applications or significances based on the need of the recipient culture. But our task, this is where our creativity comes in, is to apply the Bible author's message to our day with the same power. What's a task? Some general statements about this seminar. Sin affects everyone. It surely affects me. I have tried to humble myself before you. I've tried to say, I know I'm a sinner. It's affected me. I know I'm historically conditioned. I've been to Baptist schools. I realize that. We all wear filters, glasses with different levels of spiritual gift and personality and mama and culture and denomination. We all have them. If we know we have them, we can limit their effect.